Howdy, and thanks for checking this out. Go ahead and close that. Um, you watched the last video. We made a contour map of Gorton Pond. Pretty basic one. Of course, I'm getting text right when I start this. I get text messages. Today, we're gonna do Amos Lake, but we're gonna kick up the detail big time. Let's get into the lake. We're gonna make a. This is gonna be a two-part thing right here. Broke the lake up into two halves. You have the northern half here, and the southern. Today we're gonna be doing the southern half, which is probably more difficult to get good data on. We're going to make a nice contour map, and eventually maybe a third video on a side scan mosaic, which this lake is a decent candidate for that. It's got some really neat features. Let's go ahead and talk about the lake real quick. 113 acres. Decent bass lake. It's what they call a bass management lake here in Connecticut. And I do have to say one thing. The state of Connecticut does an outstanding job with managing their bass population and how they grow. People tend to get angry and shy away from bass management lakes, but I think that's because they don't want to learn how to fish. You can see here, really tiny, that the water's decently clear. It was about this today. After about 3 feet, though, it gets pretty dark. Let's check out some bathymetry of the lake. This is what the state provides here. Really neat stuff. This one, I think, is a little bit more entertaining than the Gorton Pond that we looked at in our last video. Also, I tried doing 4K on the last video. There was definitely a lot of drop frames. This one's just going to be 1080p, so hopefully we don't drop as many frames. I have a really decent computer, but evidently if you want to do 4K, you have to buy these 7th generation Intel processors to do it properly, because it's some kind of DRM, and without the DRM it slows it all. I don't even want to. I'm not buying a new computer. So for the time being, it's going to be in 1080p. If I can figure out some kind of workaround or better recording software, then we'll do that. So right about here is the boat launch. Quickly goes down to 42 foot. We will find out that is not accurate. I want to say 46 to 45 is what we're really going to find. There's a couple spots that I have a feeling, let's say right here, I have a feeling this is a lot sharper than what they have. Whoever did this one did all right. This one's pretty decent. If you're an ice fisherman, you might be able to work off this. But we're going to make a map that you can upload into your cell phone. You can upload back into your... here's the deal with this lake. Long contours. You guys fishing down in Texas, Florida, with a decent contour map, you're really going to be able to hammer them. Today they were all about the 10-foot mark. There's no 10-foot mark here. You got 6 to 12. I mean, that's easy to fish, but you bring a paper copy of this with you underway, you're not going to be able to do it. Also, your units come with preloaded maps for the most part, or as far as contour maps. After this, you're not going to want to use that again. You've probably noticed that they're not very accurate. Anyway, let's get into the pork and beans here. 158 acres. Before you start this, we're using the Reef Master 2.0 again. Before you start this, you have to make a polygon walk around of the lake. This one took me about 30 minutes. It was a huge pain. What did I do there? But it follows the shoreline pretty consistently. Whenever you do these, which I showed how to do them in the last video, so if you want to learn it, a little bit with this, it can get tricky in these areas where the trees overhang the water. The computer program, I believe it uses some type of elevation data in Google Earth, and making these lines is easy on clear shoreline like this swimming area. And so, real quick, notice this. I didn't get too close to the swimming area, but I got close enough. It wasn't roped off yet. Nobody was swimming. I didn't fish it, so I didn't leave any hooks there. But I took my liberties. You know, you just try to stay a decent way away from swimming areas. Even when it's in the off season, it's just the right thing to do. Now, some of the polygon line, I could not get it properly on the shore, like right here. That's fine. It's on the shore. The data we're getting is generally going to be in the 2 foot and deeper. So everything that's along the shorelines isn't really going to matter to us and how we're going about our fishing. Kind of interesting lake. Let's get into the Reef Master software. Actually, let's save this real quick. Save place as Amos Shoreline. I've already got a Amos Lake folder. Amos Shoreline KMZ file. Once again, we are only focusing on this side of the lake. There is some data over here. Took a friend of mine out fishing, mostly for him. Real young fella. Caught a nice, what is it, 2.2 pound bass. It's his first largemouth ever, 2.2 pounds. You know, you can't argue with that. He had a blast, and the way we did it was we identified some of the things that we've talked about in my previous videos, and we exploited them. So let's find those areas and show you how to fish them. So I have my Reef Master already loaded my workspace, which is Amos Lake. We're going to go ahead and import the tracks. These ones are going to take a little bit, but that's fine. While they're going, tell you a funny story. I was on the lake today, and I've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours on these Connecticut lakes, and I've never had a what you guys down south call game warden, here they call them deep agents, approach me. And today is also the day that everyone's registration expires. So if you don't have by midnight tonight the proper sticker on, me and you out of registration. And I don't have my sticker on yet. Actually, I haven't made it to the DMV. For some reason, they never mail me the update. I haven't made it to the DMV to get my new sticker. So this dude comes up, you know, how you doing, this and that. We tie the boats together. And, you know, I'm used to down in Texas where game wardens don't play. They tie up, they come aboard, they inspect, they ask you what you're doing there, they measure the catch, all this. But he was just doing a survey, and he was asking what I thought of their fishing program and their different ways of managing the lakes. And really awesome, actually. I've never had anybody do that. I told him, hey, by the way, gave him my email, and I said, hey, we're making well, in the process of making some maps, various contour maps of these lakes. If you guys, I'm sure they would appreciate something detailed. I don't know if they'd ever use it, but it's fun to look at. So maybe they'll hit us up. Anyway, we'll start a map project. Amos contour. Gonna highlight all our tracks. And boom. So, real quick, I know this looks like spaghetti. This spaghetti is where we were fishing. And here's one thing you want to do. You want to make a detailed contour map. You're going to have to run tracks. How do you run tracks? Well, you drive straight. Grab your coffee, turn on the stereo, and drive straight lines, as straight as you can. Let's go ahead and bring up the very first one. We'll take a quick look at it. We'll look at the sonar view before we get into actually doing the map. It's going to take a minute to go through the data. There's a lot of side imaging here. Real quick, while it's going through the data, what did I do here? Well, it was windy. It's just a part of it sometimes. So, driving east to west, I was getting pushed off course. You can see here where this track kind of this way, you know, I tried to maintain as straight as I could, and I couldn't. But this one right here, pretty damn straight. Turned around, wanted to run parallel to this one, but some kayakers, this and that. You got to do what you got to do. Wow, look at that. So, in the past, some of these videos we've done have been pretty squiggly boat lines all over the place, and I told you guys, just ignore that side imaging, not a big deal. Fish it as you use it. But look what happens whenever you drive straight lines. You get some pretty impressive pictures. A lot of small rocks on the bottom. Let's see if we can't find something neat real quick. Usually near the boat ramps you can find a sunken canoe or something. That's annoying. Anyway. Now this is far from a mosaic. Whenever you you can see here on the right side a lot of conflicting data. It's not conflicting. It looks bad, but it's not. Some shorelines that don't seem to match up. It's not bad. It's just the way the tracks were taken. Whenever you go to make a mosaic, it will, which we will do eventually. It's going to get all cleared up. Here's as close as I got to the swimming area on the first track. Wow, looks nice. So take a quick look at the standard sonar. Let's go ahead and drop our depth, max depth to, yeah, we'll say 50. Same over here. Now, for you guys fishing trout, when you see an arch like that, that's definitely a trout. Not a big trout fisherman, but I do take some guys out that like to trout fish. Kind of skip through here. Looks like a rock, maybe a couple fish hanging off the top. Really good returns. Really solid bottom. Not a lot going on in the water. What we did get... Check this out real quick. See a fish here, and you see this? That's a bait ball. These are bait fish. And give kind of that misconstrued return like that. Nothing else is going to give you that. Well, there's a lot of things, but if you're seeing arches under that, it's bait fish. Of course, we talked about that in the past. As we start to come up here, a lot of vegetation. Big arch. That is a big one. Sometimes those big arches on a drop-off will be a rock that's just outside of range, but I'll say because of the return, that is definitely a fish. Another one. This looks like a gigantic fish. I'm going to call that a bait ball. One thing we talk about all the time is structure. Here's a rock structure. Some people don't want to call rock structures. They just want to call it like, we're just, for the sake of fishing, just refer to rocks as structure. When it comes to this, it is structure. Another bait ball. I'm not going to call those fish. I'm going to say they're rocks just outside the angle of the sonar. More fish. I'm going to call that a bait ball right here. Really neat lake. Anyway, let's get back into making our contour map. Boom. All our tracks. This one right here, the last one, we're going to shorten it a bit. What happened is I left my unit recording after I put it in the trailer and drove it up to the boat launch. So that should be 160. Edit. Tracks. 160. It's going to let me this new one. Well, yeah, my mistake. This shouldn't carry over into the final image because it's going to be outside of our map boundary. Let's go ahead and make the map boundary, define map area. Now, we talked about this in the last video. Don't make the map crazy big, but do have it encompass the lake. If it's too big, it'll give you problems in the Google Earth as far as being able to tilt everything. So now let's go to generate map, and it'll save this map boundary. Right off the bat, you can see that running these close tracks gave us a very cool and somewhat detailed lake map. These shallower areas, not too concerned about them. Use your best judgment. You know, driving around, I know this is consistently shallow here. It's dangerously shallow. I have an aluminum boat. I don't mind banging up against a couple things, but I don't want to damage my transducer because it's expensive. So keep that in mind. And whenever you do run these tracks, feel free to sometimes I'll just go around the edge of the lake as close as I can without trying to capture that in our back and forth tracks. So, layers. Under edit, it is. Map boundaries, import. Amos shoreline. Boom. Now we got to go back to layers and or edit. Changes to shoreline. And we're done. Once again, we're going to regenerate the map. And we're getting closer to something decent. Now, this interpolation, or however you pronounce that, whatever, is basically the system using probably a pretty decent set of differential equations and determining the differences between lost data and actual data and making it up. If you're getting a picture like this and your setting here is at 50, you're doing pretty good. But we're going to kick it up to 75 and regenerate, and that should fill in the missing spots decently on the southern half of the lake. And here we go. So, look at this, 45 foot. And the less dark, the not bold line is 1 foot. So 46, 47, 48, and right at the bottom we gotta have a couple spots at 49. Let's check out what the state gave us. Here's your 42-foot contour, a 36. Really no clue what's going on in here. I think they may have been pretty correct about this area, though. Nothing along this shoreline, nothing in here. Go back to Reef Master. Wow. And when you upload this back into your unit or your cell phone while you're out fishing, some of you, seriously, some of you will have equipment like a Humminbird that's hooked into a Minn Kota. I have the Altera. I don't have a Humminbird that can support this feature, but it has the ability to follow contour lines. So I could program into the sonar unit, tell the trolling motor to follow this 15-foot contour line, and I'm going to be casting about 10 feet in front of this 10-foot cap line that's following the 15-foot, and my boat will automatically take me through here. For you guys fishing tournaments, if you found them at 10 foot, which is where they were today, and you had a map like this, you're going to be able to just plow through them on. And it sounds bad, but you're going to make everybody look bad. You're going to do pretty good. Once again, these maps, this 2D map back here is not very impressive as far as the shoreline that we've determined, but that's fine. Let's check out a 3D view. course, we'll church this up a bit. So here we go. Moving this a little slow, so hopefully, like the last video, we don't lose much of our 3D view. Man, for the half a gallon of gas that I spent going up and down here, I mean, honestly, most of the lines took about half an hour. And I think later on, when we start to do the hold on. Notice that the 3D view isn't showing any of up here. Maybe that is because we have no data. I'm just going to, I know the boundary we set was large enough. Anyways, maybe it wasn't. Let's go ahead and fix that. Looks large enough here. Maybe it's not. Let's go ahead and bring that up. Right about there. Bring this guy out right about there. And regenerate the map. Back to 3D view. And it's still not there. Actually, I gotta click generate map again. Huh. No worries. I'd probably just I'll fiddle with that, and I'll get you an answer on the next one as to why that's doing that. This is I do like this program, but it's pretty new to me. So, I said earlier the fish were around the 10-foot range. They were maintaining pretty steady there. If I would have had this contour map uploaded into my Hummingbird, I would have had a much better fishing day. And next time I go out there, once I find out, just generally where every bass is different. They're some of them are going to hang around the middle of nowhere, around no structure, very independent, do whatever they want to do. Some of them never leave the shallows, and some of them, you have that group of them that's going to kind of follow the same, not necessarily the same, but they might be hanging out at the same depth. Maybe that's because where bait fish are, certain types of vegetation or structure. Anyway, made a really neat map here. We're going to complete it, and we will make a side scan mosaic. I don't want to run this video too long. Hopefully you got a really good picture of what we're doing. We're going to make some really neat stuff. Let's actually, before we stop this, preset style. Let's bring it into Google Earth. Amos contour 1. We're definitely going to have several of these once I get the rest of the map, or the lake mapped out. Amos contour 2. Man, one thing I do want to stress is this was done on cheap equipment. $350 sonar unit. Do this with your auto chart. Just try it. It ain't gonna happen. I personally think that's a gimmick. I haven't seen anything too impressive. Really thought I got some data there. Real quick, let's try something. Let's kick this up to 100. Generate map. Let's see what it thinks is going on in the areas we're missing. So it says we got a little hump here and a general slope. I have a feeling that this 15-foot mark goes straight through here and it's not a gentle slope. As you notice, around this area it's mostly drop-offs. So more data does help out. Back to 75. Yeah, I think that's pretty much a drop-off right there. But the software does a pretty good job. Let's open this up in Google Earth. If you're not familiar with Google Earth, it's free. You ain't got to pay for it. So download it, play with it. You're going to have fun with it. Really neat software. Amos Lake, Contour 1. So what looked like a goofy shoreline on the other picture is no longer a goofy shoreline, and we can even see trees overhanging the lake. Of course, I can go back in there and touch that up a little bit. I don't want to because it was awful doing this lake, but I will eventually do that. So whenever we make the final product, we'll try to do as good as we can. So bring that other style contour map up. This one should have our numbers. And I lost them. Sometimes when you back out really far, you'll see your numbers way over here. I'm sure there's a fix for that. I'll figure it out. Anyway, you can also change the color of these contours. We'll definitely do a couple more of those. And we'll upload one into the sonar unit, and I'll show you how to fish them out on the lake. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer, but we'll do it anyway. Really neat stuff. Boat launch, going down the deepest spot, which we found today was actually 49 feet, not 42. I would say there's about a 6-inch offset for my transducer. I don't feel like putting in a 6-inch offset right now. Once we do when we get back to the final one, we absolutely will do everything perfect. But for now, we have the data. We can update the data as we go. We're going to get the rest of the lake. It's going to be really neat. If you have any questions, feel free to email me through the Google system, make a comment, anything. I'll hit everybody up. Any kind of comments, everything's welcome. I get some crazy ones. Anyway, also, I work with a great group of guys. We take disabled people out fishing. Everyone from children all the way to 90-year-old veterans that more want to go out there and drink a beer when they get away from people who don't let them drink a beer. Anyway, it's called Adapt Outdoors LLC. Adapt Outdoors LLC. There's a webpage called adaptoutdoorsllc.org. Definitely check that out. And if you like this, I don't make any money off these things. I don't think I ever will. But we're always looking for donors and veterans. Also, if you want to go fishing with me and you live in Connecticut, hit me up. I'll take you out. Thanks for your time, and see you on the flip side.